Haribol Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for wonderful service.
Thank you.
Jayo Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Gopijana Vallabha, Jaya Girivarodhari, Jayo Girivarodhari.
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari.
Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana,
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana,
Jamuna Tira Vanachari,
Yamunatira Manachari.
Jayo Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jayo Radha Radhonato Radha, Radhonato Radhe.
Jaya Radhe Radhunata, Radhe Radhunata, Radhe.
Jaya Goranitai, 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 Jaya Goranitai.
Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai.
Jayo Jagannath, Jayo Jagannath, Jayo Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra.
Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra.
Jayo Jagannath, Jayo Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra.
Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra.
Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami, Nayana Patagami Pavatume.
Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami, Nayana Patagami Bhavatume.
Jayo Pralad Nishringa, Jayo Pralad Nishringa, Jayo Pralad Nishringa, Jayo Pralad Nishringa.
Jaya Pralana Shringa Jaya Pralana Shringa Jaya Pralana Shringa Jaya Pralana Shringa.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Hare Krishna, welcome to this morning Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class. It's a very hot subject matter on a very cold day. So I'll just do my pranams. Mangalacharana, and then we will start. Narayana Namaskritam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jaya Udirayat Nasta Prayeshu Abhideshu Nityam Bhagavatam Shevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nayushtiki Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Umilitam Yena Tashmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Shindu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavanishvare Vrishabhanu Suta Devi Pranamami Hari Prihe Shri Panchakapatrupyascha Kripa Sindhubhyo Vacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jayo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 5 to 11. Kim sabritam richim rayo divja Shri Goyaste.
Kim
Kim
Sambritam
sabritam
Ruchirayo Dvija
rucharayo dvija
Shringayoste.
sringayoste.
Kim sambritam richi rayor bija shring gavyoste.
Kim
Kim
Sambritam
sambritam
Ruchirayo Dvija
rucharayo dvija
Shringayoste.
sringayoste.
Kim sambritam richi rayor bija shring gayote.
Kim
Kim
Sambritam
sambritam
Ruchirayo
rucharayo
Dvija
dvija
Shringayoste.
sringayoste.
Madhye Krishno va ashi yatra drishir shritame.
Madhye
Madhye
Krisho
Krisho
Vahasi
Vahasi Yatra
Yatra
Drishihi
Drishihi
Shrita
Shritame.
Me.
Ma Madhye Krishno va ashi yatra drisha shritame.
Madhye
Madhye
Krisho
Madhye
Vahasi
Krishno
Krishno
Yatra
Yatra
Vahasi
Drishihi
Drishihi
Shrita
Yatra
Shritame.
Me.
Rashi Shritatme
Madhya Krisho va ashi yatra drisha shritame.
Madhya Krisho Vahasi
Madhye
Yatra
Krishno Vahasi
Drishihi Shrita
Yatro
Me.
Rashi Shrito
Pankora no shurabrir atma vashana idrig.
Pankoruna
Pankorana
Surabhi
Surabhi
Atma
Atma
Vishana
Vishana
Idra.
Idri.
Atma Vishana Idirgay
Pankoruna surabir atma vishana idrig.
Pankorana
Koruna
Surabhi
Surabhi
Ankoram
Atma
Atma
Vishana
Surabhi
Vishana
Idri.
Atma
Idri.
Vishano Idirgay
Pankoruna surabir atma vashana idrig.
Pankorana
Pankoruna
Surabhi
Surabhi
Atma
Atma
Vishana
Vishana
Idri.
Idri.
Atma Vishana Idro
Venasramam shu bhagavame sarvabi karoshe.
Yena
Venashramam
Sramam
Vena
Sarvabhi
Subhagame
Surabhi
Surabhi
Karosi.
Karosi.
Vi
Karoshi
Vinashraman Shubhaga Pagame Shurabi Karoshi.
Yena shramam subhagame
Yenashramam
surabhi
Sudhagme
karosi.
Karoshi.
This was actually supposed to be recited in the same tune that we use, Brahma Samhita. So please forgive me. And maybe some devotees can do a better job. If you all want to, Mataji's Prabhus.
Kim samvratam rucheyo dvija shringayoste.
Kim
Sampritam Richarajo Dvija
Samvratam Ruchirayo Dvija
Sringayoste.
Trinagayoste.
Madhye krisho vahasi yatra drishi shrita me.
Madhye
Madhya
Krisho Vahasi
Madhya
Yatra
Krishu
Sita Me.
Panko runaha shurubhir atma vishana idra.
Pankuruna
Surabhi Atma Vishana Hidrage.
Mavisana Idriga.
Yena shramam subhaga me surabhi karosi.
Yena Shramam Subhagame Surabhi Karoshi.
Kim savritam ruchirargo dvija sringayoste.
Kim
Samritam
Samritam Ruchirayo Dvijashunkayote.
Madhya krisho vahasi yatra drishi srita me.
Madhye Krisho Vahasi Yatra Sita
Pankoruna suraviratma vishana idrik.
Pankurunah Suraviratma Vishana Idri.
Yena sramam subhagha me surabhi karosi.
Yena Shamam Subhagame Surabhi Karoshi.
Kim.
Kim
What?
What?
Sampritam.
Samvritam.
Filled.
Fully.
Richi Rayaha.
Ruchi raya ho.
Richi. Very beautiful.
Very
very
beautiful.
beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Dvija.
Dvija.
Yeah.
O Brahmana.
O Brahmana.
Brahmana.
Oh,
Shring-
Brahman.
Shringayo.
Shring gayo ho.
Within two horns.
Within two horns.
Te.
Within two horns.
Te.
Te.
Yo.
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 Madhye.
Madhye.
Mud.
In the middle.
In the
In the
middle.
middle.
In
Krishaha.
the middle.
Krishaha.
Krisha.
Thin.
Krishaha.
Then
Thin.
Vahashi.
Bahasi.
You are carrying.
See,
You are carrying.
you
Yatra.
are carrying.
Yatra.
Yatra.
Wherein.
Sorry, wherein? Yeah.
Carrying.
Carrying.
Drishihi.
Drishihi.
Eyes.
She
Eyes.
Shrita.
eyes.
Sita.
Attached.
Sita.
Attached.
Attached.
Me.
Attached.
Me.
My.
Me.
My.
My.
Pankaha.
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 Power. Oh, sorry, powder.
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 Aruna.
Arunaha.
Red.
Aruna.
Red.
Shurabhihi.
Shurabihi.
Surabihi.
Fragrance.
Fragrant.
Atma Vishane.
Atma.
Vishana.
Vishane.
On the two arms.
Vishane.
On the two horns.
Two horns.
Idrik.
Idrik.
Such.
Touch.
Vena.
Yena.
Oh, sorry, Yena. Yeah. By which?
By which.
Ash, ashramam.
Ashramam.
Place of residence.
Place of residence.
Shubhaga.
Subhaga.
Shubhaga.
O most fortunate one.
O most fortunate one.
Oh, most
May-
fortunate one.
May.
Me.
My.
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 Surabhihir Karoshi.
Surabhi karosi.
Surabhi karosi.
You are performing. Sorry,
You
you are
are
perfuming.
You are
You are
perfuming.
Fuming.
You are perfuming.
All right. In advance, I'd like to apologize to all the devotees. Today's class is very much PG rated. I actually prepared an entire class for the last couple of days, but this morning, while I was chanting my rounds, I decided I got inspiration to change the class completely. So this morning, I was trying to scribble a few things together. So if I'm not fully prepared, please understand this. When I read this verse a couple of weeks ago, I was shocked. I was wondering, my dear Lord, how am I going to present this class to an audience of Vaishnavas? It is really difficult for me, and I felt quite, it was quite difficult when I read this verse. It's quite overwhelming, especially, to present this in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to a high class of Vaishnavas like yourselves. But we'll see what Krishna, gives us the mercy or the blessing for us, how to undertake this service in a very favorable way, pleasing way to the Lord. So, translation by Srila Prabhupada. Agnidhara.
Agnidra.
Then praise Purvachiti.
Then praise
Purvachiti.
Raise breast.
Raised
breast.
breast.
He said,
He
He
said,
said,
my dear Brahmana,
my dear
Brahmana,
Brahmana,
your waist is very thin,
your waist is very thin,
thin.
yet with great difficulty,
yet with
With
great difficulty,
you are carefully carrying 2 horns,
you are
you are carefully carrying 2 horns,
to which my eyes have become attracted.
to which my eyes have become attracted.
attracted.
What is filling
What is filling
filling
those 2 beautiful horns?
those 2
those
beautiful
2
horns?
beautiful horns?
You seem to have spread
You
You
seem
seem to have
spread
spread
fragrant red powder upon them,
fragrant red powder upon them,
them.
powder that is like
powder that is like
like
the rising morning sun.
the rising morning sun.
sun.
O most fortunate one,
O most
most
fortunate
fortunate
one,
I beg to inquire
I beg to inquire
where you have gotten
where
where
you have gotten
this fragrant powder
this fragrant powder
that is perfuming my ashram,
that is perfuming my ashram,
ashrama,
my place of residence.
my place
my
of residence.
place of residence.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Agnidhara appreciated Purvachiti's raised breasts. After seeing the girl's breast, he became almost mad. Nevertheless, he could not recognize whether Purvachiti was a boy or a girl, for as a result of his austerity, he saw no distinction between the two. He therefore addressed her with the words Dvija, or Brahmana. Yet why should a Dvija, a Brahmana boy, have horns on his chest? Because the boy's waist was thin, Agnidhara thought he was carrying the horns with great difficulty, and therefore they must be filled with something very valuable. Otherwise, why would he carry them? When a woman's waist is thin and her breasts are full, she looks very attractive. Agnidhara, Agnidhara, his eyes attracted, contemplated the heavy breast on the girl's thin body, and imagined how a back must strain them. Must sustain them. Agnidhara imagined that a raised breast with 2 horns and she had covered with cloth so that others would not see the valuables within them. Agnidhara, however, was very anxious to see them. Therefore, he requested, please uncover them so that I can see what you are carrying. Rest assured that I shall not take it away. If you feel an inconvenience in removing the covering, I can help you. I myself can uncover them to see what valuable things those raised awns contain. He was also surprised to see that the red dust of perfumed kumkuma spread all over her breast. Nevertheless, still considering Purvachi, a boy, Agnidara addressed her as Subhaga, most fortunate Muni. The boy must have been fortunate. Otherwise, how simply by standing there could he perfume Agnidara's entire ashram? Wow. So where do we start? How do we do this? That was the first question that came to mind when I read this verse. And so, so I prepared an entire verse. And while I was searching through, our Shastra, some of the things that I searched seemed like it was adult content searching, so that I can get authenticity from our Shastra, from Bhagavatam, to present this well. So anyways, I've got that at the bottom, time permitting, I'll go over that. But something this morning, enlightened me to speak a little bit differently. So the thing is that it seems like the fall of austerity when the mind is unprotected, right? King Agnidara was performing austerity with a desire. Why was he performing austerity? To obtain a suitable wife and for good progeny. In response, Lord Brahma sent an Apsara, Purvachari, whose beauty immediately disturbed his meditation, right? At first glance, the language is very striking. At first glance, this language that we use is very striking. Agnidara became captivated by Purvachi's beauty and began poetically describing a breast as two awns carrying something very valuable, right? The question is, why would scriptures describe this in such detail, right? The answer is that Bhagavatam does not hide the reality of material conditionings, especially the force of karma, of lust. So if, the thing is that if the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada mentioned very nicely that we should not go straight into the 10th canto, because if we go to the 10th cantos immediately, we'll be so bewildered. It might be detrimental for our spiritual life, because the relationship between Krishna and the gopis is so sensual, it's so deep, that ordinary men who have not went through the purificatory process can become bewildered and become sahajas, and then, of course, become agitated. Now, so what is happening, you must understand that Bhagavatam is a purificatory process. It is a postgraduate study. Bhagavad Gita is a graduate study, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the postgraduate study. It's not meant for the weak-minded or the weak-hearted or the sensitive-minded. Bhagavatam is meant for strong devotees, for devotees who are mature, devotees who understand the fundamentals of life, and who are mature enough to handle subject matters of this delicate nature. So if we are not, then Bhagavatam is getting us slowly ready. It's preparing us for the 10th canto. So we should not delve straight in the 10th canto. When I was doing research on this here, and I was asking, when I was talking about, the different aspects of the woman features for reference from the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto comes up time and time again. And it is mentioned, how Krishna embraced the gopis' feet, or the gopis embraced Krishna's feet to their breasts, and how kumkum from the breast, got, smeared on the Lord's feet. And it goes into such detail. It's truly amazing that I myself stopped reading all those references, because I decided that, we need to follow Prabhupada's instructions, that we need to go from Canto 1 to Canto 9 very nicely. And if we do not understand and do not accept the full teachings of from Canto 1 to Canto 9, go back and read the whole Canto 1 to Canto 9 again, till our consciousness, our mood becomes aligned with a higher level of consciousness. And then we can understand the deep conditioning of ourselves, and how to understand the Canto 10. In Canto 10, even I've listened to some classes, even one from Bhakti Chamaj, that said that, you see, the thing is that the spiritual, the material creation is a perverted reflection of this material of the spiritual world. So the material creation is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Whatever is the lowest in this material world is the highest in the spiritual world. So then, like it said that, the gopis were considered to be, society girls, low class, because this is the highest level in the spiritual world. And names that were used to describe the gopis can be considered very derogatory in our terms and our understanding. But unless we have the purified highest, we will not understand how that is the highest level of consciousness, and so it is not actually an insult when Sastra and the other great personalities refer to the sadhus to the gopis in such a derogatory, what we may consider derogatory manner, because they are highest levels of Krishna consciousness, the highest levels of Krishna bhaktas. Even Uddhava wants to get dust from their feet and becomes Uddhava, who is Krishna's mirror in Dwarka. He understands there is nothing in Vrindavan. So even priest becomes a creeper to get the dust from the lotus feet of these great personalities, these great gopis. So you must understand that Krishna consciousness dives, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam dives deep into reality. It dives deep. Please think carefully about these words. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is meant for us to dive deep into reality. And the only way that we can dive deep into reality is to cut away these coverings that we have, these conditionings, the way we see things in a small box. These are things of very high standard of discussion matter, right? How can it be such great authorities, does not automatically mean, it doesn't, even if great authorities, they don't automatically mean purity, right? Srila Prabhupada writes, after seeing the girl's breast, he became almost mad. Agnidara literally means one. What does the meaning Agnidara means? The meaning of Agnidara means one who kindles the fire. Agnidara means one who kindles the fire. So he was kindling the great fire of lust in his heart, right? So the question comes about is how can such great personality like Priyavrata Maharaj have a son with such lusty desires, right? Who was infatuated by lusty desires. So I asked is, how can such a great personality, such a great sadhu have a son that has such deep ingrained lusty desires, right? So the question is then, how can that be? Such great, like Priyavrata and his wife are great personalities. They're great devotees, but their son became so lusty. And the Bhagavatam says it's because of the consciousness of the parents at the time of conceiving, right? The consciousness of the parents at the time of conceiving. And what happens at the time of conceiving, the consciousness of the parents pass on to the child. So the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is known as the Amala Purana. It is a spotless Purana. There's nothing in the Bhagavatam that should not be there. Subject matters like these are meant to be there. It's not like an oversight of Vedavyas, because Vedavyas went and he churned the entire Sastras, the Puranas, and he gave us just the essence, the most important, the most crucial subject matters. So subject matters like this is not incidental. It didn't happen by chance that okay, we just mentioned that by chance. And you will see that subject matters of these natures is mentioned, verse after verse, canto after canto, canto after canto, it's mentioned. Why? It's because it is so hard for us to give up and to understand, to take away our small-minded consciousness, and then we'll be able to be receptive to canto 10, right? Now, if you're looking at that, what happened was when Priyavrata conceived this child, he and his wife was very, very much, involved in lusty thoughts, or should I say, in sensual activities. They were in the peak of sensual activities. So the consciousness was not of pure consciousness when they conceived the child. And therefore, what happens when we want to have children, Prabhupada said we got to chant 50 rounds first. 50 rounds first before we do that. Follow very nicely. Make sure our consciousness is perfect. Even have Prabhupada Japa, even have Prabhupada's Japa playing during that time. So at that time, the consciousness of the father can be passed on to the mother, and then you can attract a very nice soul. So it's not about sense gratification. It's about doing the samskars very nicely. So it's so important how the consciousness can be passed on. And if you're looking at today's irresponsible age, is that anybody doing that? Even our sadhus, are we doing that? And what do we expect? What kind of souls, what kind of consciousness we expect from our children? We blame our children that they got no taste for Krishna consciousness, but that's not because of them. You know, it's our consciousness that is passed on to them as well, right? So the good example would be is Sukadev Goswami's life. So I'll talk about different Vaishnavas, about their lives and how, you know, this mood has been passed on to them. So we'll try to elaborate about pastimes rather than just the philosophical side. So initially I prepared philosophical, but I thought let's go into different activities, different pastimes of different personalities, and we can relate when we see these pastimes as stories, whether allegoric or real stories. So Sukadev Goswami is a classic example, right? He was the son of Vyasadeva. And from the very beginning of his birth, he was already a fully liberated, fully self-realized. He was Atmaram, a fully self-realized soul, completely detached from this material existence. And it is described that even the trees, well, so what happened was, as soon as he was born, he wants to renounce. He was not attached to his material world. He wasn't attached to family life. Immediately, he started running into the forest. He ran away from his father's ashram, from Vyasadeva's ashram. Now, if you and I have a father like Veda Vyas, I mean, it'll be such a great fortune. Would we think of running away from such a nourishing environment? But as soon as he bought, if he thought that even that ashram was not good enough for his consciousness, so what he did was immediately he ran away from home. His father, being attached to him, ran behind him and started screaming, "Oh, where are you going? What is happening?" Right? So without undergoing any ceremonies, without undergoing any regulatory ceremonies, and staying with his parents, he ran into the forest. So yes, Sukadev Goswami is described in Shastra as an avadut, a paramahamsa. He is also depicted as Digambara. Now, Digambar means naked. What it means, Digambar means from the four directions. He's dressed through the four directions. That means there was no need for clothes. He was completely naked. So you get that in previous ages where great sadhus didn't see the need for clothes. They were transcendental to even clothes. And they are called Digambar, means they are dressed by the four directions, right? So in that terms, what it means, avadut means is completely liberated soul. So Sukadev Goswami was a completely liberated soul from birth, right? One was beyond social rules, bodily identification, material dualities. Sukadev Goswami was called Paramahamsa, not even just an avadut, but a Paramahamsa avadut, because he was self-realized from birth, detached from family life. He was a fixed Brahmana, a Paramahamsa realization. Later, right? So later on, if you understand, is that, so the description of Digambara, I just thought a quick description, is literally means clothed by the directions, i.e. naked. Sukadev Goswami is described as walking unclothed because he had no bodily shame or identification. He saw the body as irrelevant to the self. Nature itself was his covering. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, so in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the emphasis is not sensational nudity, but rather it is complete freedom from bodily consciousness, right? So, so what happens when he ran and went away, he went past a lake where women were bathing. And when he ran past them, the woman just continued bathing unaffected. And then Veda Vyas ran behind him. And when he ran behind him, these women took cloth and covered their breasts and covered themselves. So Veda Vyas was surprised. Said, "Hey, listen, when my son, which is a young man, came past you, you didn't feel like covering yourself. But why me? I mean, this is Veda Vyas, who is a literal incarnation of the Lord. Why did you cover yourselves, you know?" So Sukadev Goswami is indeed described as Paramahamsa avadut. as Digambar. So Vyasadeva was very astonished when he ran behind and calling, my dear son, please come back home. So this pastime is mentioned in first canto, Bhagavatam canto 1.2 and 1.4. And so the lady said is that, your son, the ladies replied when Vedavyas asked is, why didn't you, surprise us, why have you not covered themselves before the young son, but covered themselves upon seeing him, an old sage? And the ladies replied, your son seeing no distinction between male and female, because he is completely free from bodily consciousness, but you still perceive identification of man and woman. Therefore, we covered ourselves before you. So, so this verse, what it does, it references the philosophical point that Sukadeva Goswami was completely beyond material dualities, whereas Vedavyas, though a great sage, was still functioning within the worldly distinctions for practical dealings. So, so you can see that what happened. You'll also see that later on, when the sages gathered to recite Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, at that time, Sukadeva Goswami, he came to the arena where they were all gathered on the banks of the Yamuna, or was it Ganga? And while they were gathered there, at that time there was three personalities, three manifestations of the Supreme Lord, incarnations of the Supreme Lord present, right? There was Vedavyas, there was Parasuram, and then there was Narada Muni, who is considered an incarnation of the Lord. But still, although there was three incarnations of the Lord that was present at the time, when Vedavyas, when Sukadeva Goswami came in, it was a very unusual sight because of Sukadeva Goswami's in first canto of Bhagavatam it says, because Sukadeva Goswami was so effulgent, so beautiful, so he had such good bodily features that women were following him. Women were following him, and because he was like Digambari, he was was not dressed well, he wasn't well taken care of. Children were all following and throwing stones at him and mocking him. But when they came to the assembly, and all the sages showed great respect to Sukadeva Goswami, these women and these children ran away. And then Sukadeva Goswami was given the opportunity to speak the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Even though his father, who was the literal incarnation of the Lord, was present, still Sukadeva Goswami was given the opportunity to speak, only because he was not affected by these dualities, by male, female. He was not affected by sight of a woman, of women's naked bodies, when he went past. So you can see that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is Amala Purana. It is not affected. Let me just see quickly, right? So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is Amala Purana, means spotless Purana, in purpose not emotionally sanitized, right? It is spotless because there is no contamination or misleading dharma or false goals apart from Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada repeatedly Prabhupada explained, Bhagavatam is spotless because it always leads one to Krishna. It obliviates barriers and that hampers or creates bottlenecks in attaining that goal. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is there to take away any bottlenecks, anything that hampers our full sight to see the Supreme Lord. So therefore, it addresses the problem. It doesn't just push the problems under the carpet and say, oh, it's too delicate a subject matter to address. Bhagavatam goes full on, right? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is called spotless Purana for that purpose. Its sole purpose is to lead every discussion, narrative, and instruction towards Krishna. It removes all coverings, misconceptions, and material attachments that obstruct or delay the living entity's progress towards that goal. In that way, it dismantles the bottleneck of ignorance and the karma that hinders pure devotional service, ultimately establishing exclusive shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is there to present the facts the way it is, right? Then why are there such sensual? Then you may ask, why in Bhagavatam, if it is there for our upliftment, why are there such sensual verses included? Because Bhagavatam is a diagnostic scripture, not a sentimental one. It is a diagnostic scripture, not a sentimental one. It shows how the soul falls, how illusion works, how deeply conditioned consciousness goes, and what actually happens when desire is uncontrolled. It comes very much to the point. It very brutally exposes our true inner nature. Right? Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada's principle, medicine is not entertainment. Right? It's a classic reflection here that medicine is not entertainment. Right? So the spiritual literature is not meant for pleasure reading, but for curing diseases. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam sometimes uses strong descriptions, shocking narratives, moral collapse scenes. Why? Because illusion must be exposed, not decorated. No thrills, no frills. Present the facts as it is, right? Stronger. So what it means is, I think the good example is given. To take out a thorn, a stronger thorn is required. A stronger thorn is required to remove a thorn. So just like how metal sharpens metal, right? So this is fully consistent with the Vaishnava teaching. Illusion is not removed by deeper reality. It's not avoidance, right? So how is illusion? Illusion is removed by deep reality, not avoidance. To remove deep illusions, we cannot use superficial comfort or must. So what we must do, we must expose the mechanism of bondage itself. So Bhagavatam is exposing the mechanism of bondage, right? So you're not worried about, sweet words and stuff like that. What's the verse? How that saying goes? Empathy is better than sympathy, which often conceals and seldom consoles. Empathy is better than sympathy, which often conceals and seldom consoles. Sometimes we have to be brutally honest. And sometimes, it's very difficult. I'll give you a good example when it's difficult to be honest. Say, for instance, your spouse asks you, do I look fat in this, honey? Do I look fat in this? There's no right answer for that, right? But basically, Bhagavatam will not candy coat anything, right? Bhagavatam does exactly that, right? So why does Agni Dara expose, why does this pastime exist? The point is not sensuality. The point is even an higher trained or austere king becomes bewildered when lust enters the mind, right? Even an higher king, great personalities. I mean, the last couple of days, so many great stories we're talking about, so many great, Dira personalities that fell down or got agitated just by the glance, not even sometimes the glance of a woman, but sometimes even the footsteps of the ankle bells that can affect a great sadhu's consciousness. Not even that, sometimes even two entities like two fish, can also deviate one from performing their austerities and take them back to sensuality. We saw that so many times. Even an highly trained austere kings becomes bewildered when lust enters the mind. So Srila Prabhupada's purport makes it clear, austerity alone is not enough. Uncontrolled senses destroys discrimination. Intelligence becomes distorted instantly. The Bhagavatam structure itself is an internal purification. What is the intent of the Bhagavatam? Is to purify you from internally, not to just candy coat everything and give you some nice allegoric stories and make you feel nice about yourself, right? So even from Canto 1 to Canto 9, what it does, its karma is exposed, dharma is tested, attachment is dismantled, material contamination is revealed. And then Canto 10, if you are qualified, and if we are purified, we are qualified, we are ready, we are spiritually mature, then the pure Leela of Krishna is revealed only after that purification. So if we get to Canto 10, we will not embrace the full pure Leela of that purification, of that pastime. So it's very important that these kinds of consciousness needs to be eradicated first. The Bhagavatam is preparing, is cutting us like a surgeon's knife, all these impurities in our heart. It's preparing us to see the smiling face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as in Canto 10. So then why Ashtrut? Right? Why Ashtrut? Is it really necessary? Is it really necessary to have Ashtrut? Because conditioned life is already harsh. right? It's just disguised. Our conditioned life is really harsh. Think about it. That's why we are sitting here today and we're discussing. Time and time again, we understand that this material life is and conditioned life is a very harsh reality. It's just we disguise it very nicely in sweet words, in palatable words. You know, we try to make small talk. But Bhagavatam got no time for small talk. In our small lifetimes, less than 80 years, Bhagavatam's duty is to purify us, to take us back home, back to Golok Vrindavan. Bhagavatam is not prevalent in any one of the other Chatyu Yugas. It's only manifested when the doorway to Golok Vrindavan is open, because then we have opportunity to go back to Golok Vrindavan. Even Bhagavatam is not there in the heavenly planets. He's not even there in Vaikuntha. Because what is the use of giving a Shastra to people who cannot achieve that ultimate goal of Golok Vrindavan? So only it's a very, very, very small window of opportunity we have. So Bhagavatam has got a very, very small time. We're born at not very in bad timing. Where our lives are small, our consciousness is small, our intelligence is small, even our mindsets are small. So Bhagavatam has got a very, very big job to do. Like a surgeon's knife, it's just cutting away. It's just get rid of these cancers first. So then we'll be ready for Canto 10, and end of his life be ready to go back to Golok Vrindavan Dham. So we must understand that these matters are very important, not for anything else, but for our own consciousness, right? Because Dharma Projita Kaitava Kriya. So cheating religion is completely rejected here. Bhagavatam has no time for cheating religion, even for pleasant words that are mentioned in Shastra, right? This includes sentimental spirituality. You know, like we may like, you know, like sentimental spirituality, you'll get it like the Bollywood movies, you get it over there, right? You might even think, okay, Bhagavatam is not even meant for escapist religion, right? That one may get in Brahma Jyoti, right? It's selective hearing. Not going to tell you, you know. So what is this meant? It's not meant for those who want selective hearing. Now, selective hearing, the good example would be, is we don't need to tell all we husbands and wives about selective hearing. We all know very well about it. So the Bhagavatam is Amala Purana, and it contains strong narratives, strong material, because Amala means nectar, essence of all the Sastras, short for Astra. It is, so Amala is short, the Sastra is short, the Astra is short for Shastra. What does Shastra means? It's a weapon, right? It's a short for Astra. It destroys the illusion, the facilities of diving deep into reality. This Astra of Shastra is there to destroy the illusions that we're in. So this is the essence. Bhagavatam is not written to make the mind comfortable. It is written to make illusion impossible to maintain. That is why it sometimes feels sharp, right? Because the disease is sharp. The cure must be sharp, right? Our disease is so sharp. We are so conditioned. We are like, you know what happens when we have too much of fat in the body, we need to cut down the fat. So Shastra is like taking away that impurities, that excess weight that we have, the excess luggage that we have. So that because the disease is so sharp, the cure has to be sharp. It takes a thorn to remove a thorn. Oh, metal sharpens metal, right? Srila Prabhupada said that in ISKCON, there is no place for crazies and lazies. I've heard this many times in lectures. Prabhupada said that he built a house which the whole world can live in. But in ISKCON has no place for crazies and lazies. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam goes, it does not dilute reality. It confronts harsh truth directly. It prepares us to become mature, right? Spiritually, before entering the intimate pastimes of the 10th canto, in summary of what I've just told you. The Bhagavatam systematically strips away illusion, sentimentality, false ego, hypocrisy, lust, ambition, corruption, and self-deception. This is what's meant by the Bhagavatam. And how does it do that? Is by exposing everything, right? It doesn't cover anything. Nothing is pushed under the carpet. It exposes everything. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not casual literature meant only to entertain the mind. It offers or to offer some pleasant affirmation, right? It is not there to speak pleasantries. That's what the Bhagavatam is for. Flattery is a false coin that only circulates because of man's vanity. Flattery is a false coin that only circulates because of man's vanity. Time and time again, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam presents harsh truth for material existence without compromise, all right? Forcing us conditioned souls to confront uncomfortable realities about human nature, leadership, desire, attachment, fall down, and consequences of deviation. For those who are experienced, for those of us who are inexperienced or spiritually immature, often prefer hearing only what is pleasant, comforting, or sentimentally attractive. Sometimes when we listen to an harsh lecture, devotees find it hard to digest. But sometimes, what to do. These lectures are there. If you speak within the context of the verses, you're just executing your service in a way that is intended to be. You can't just say, okay, we won't talk about the subject matter. Let's just talk about something pleasant. So for weak-minded audience will have meltdowns, yes, when these facts are presented. Rather, they prefer comfortable lies to uncomfortable truth. That is not the mood of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is to present the truth because it is representing the absolute truth. So why is that? Yes, of course, the truth has to be presented when you are representing the absolute truth. Right? Again, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is preparing us to become spiritual adults. Right? Before we can properly approach Krishna's intimate Vrindavan pastimes of the 10th canto. The Bhagavatam first educates, purifies, prepares consciousness through the 9 cantos of the philosophy. How does it do it? Through philosophical rigor and repeated lessons in uncompromising dharma. Right? Again and again, the Bhagavatam demonstrates that spiritual life is not built on sentiment, selective hearing, or avoiding uncomfortable truths. No, my friends, it doesn't. It repeatedly established one principle. Truth is not adjusted to suit our comfort. Rather, we must rise to the standard of the truth. I'll repeat that. Truth is not adjusted to suit our comfort. Rather, we must rise to the standard of truth. The Srimad-Bhāgavatam constantly presents Krishna consciousness in the process of purification, not accommodating to material weaknesses. Right? The Bhagavatam therefore speaks with honesty, gravity, spiritual reality, because genuine transformation requires confronting reality. Now, basically, I'd like to speak about a few pastimes very quickly about different personalities and how these kinds of sensual behaviors affected them and how they were either affected by it or overcame by it. So, we spoke about Sukadeva Goswami. Let's quickly, Jada Bharat was another example. Now, although it's not sensual, but the same mentality applies, is that he appeared like a fool in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in Canto 5, right? King Bharat, after taking birth as Jada Bharat, deliberately behaved like a dull, mad, deaf, and unintelligent person, so society would leave him alone internally. He was fully self-realized and detached, right? The lesson there to learn is a liberated soul may appear externally unconventional, but internally fixed in transcendence. The next example is Haridas Thakur and the prostitute. So I think that story was spoken yesterday, but very quickly, a prostitute was sent to seduce Haridas Thakur. While he was chanting alone, he remained completely undisturbed, simply answering her, "Oh, please sit and wait a while I finish my chanting." Over days, she became transformed and became a devotee. Right? So the lesson there is pure consciousness is not agitated by sensual temptation. Pure consciousness is not agitated by sensual temptation. That being said, Prabhupada said the example that a sannyasi in ISKCON should never be alone with a woman. Why? Because why should you put yourself to that it's unnecessarily accepting the risks. So Prabhupada never wanted sannyasis to be alone with a woman at all, because it's so easily become agitated, not even with one's sister or one's mother, even seeing one's own, even looking at one's own naked body can agitate the mind. So even that as well, the sadhus, when they go in the bathroom, they use a gamsha and they never look at their own body. right? Because even one's own naked body can agitate man. What to talk about another person's body? It is so difficult. It's such a sensitive situation. Next example, Rishabdev is acting like an avadut, right? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 5. Lord Rishabdev renounced royal life, wandering naked, silent, neglecting the society, even appearing mad. People mocked and insulted him, right? But he remained completely detached. And he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he also showed how we have to be so careful and how we have become detached from this material world. The liberated soul is unaffected by honor, dishonor, bodily comfort, or public opinion. That is transcendental to all these dualities of life. Then the next example is the four Kumaras. They're entering Vaikuntha in the Bhagavatam, Canto 3, right? The Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar, if I got the names right. They remain externally as naked, like child sages. They're the first four created beings by Lord Brahma. They are the oldest living beings, but they chose to remain at the age of about 4 or 5, and they walk around, they go around naked, right? Though appearing as children, they possess the highest realization and freely entered even Vaikuntha because of this, unaffected by it. The spiritual identity is independent of bodily designation or age. That is the lesson here. So spiritual identity is independent to bodily designation or age. Next example, King Kadvanga. He renounced everything immediately. Bhagavatam, Canto 9. As after learning he had only moments to live, King Kadvanga instantly gave up all worldly attachments, and then he fixed his consciousness on the Supreme Lord. Lesson there is real spiritual vision means detachment from bodily and material identity without hesitation. And it can be done even at the very last moment of one's life. Even at the last moment of one's life, one attaches one's consciousness to the Supreme Person of Godhead. There's, like Ajamil. Once I was in the hospital with my younger cousin. She was leaving her body through cancer. She was much younger than me. And I'll spend 10 days sleeping on a bedside, chanting and making it. She came from a non-devotional background, a meat eater. But, as a brother, I decided, what to do. So getting permission from my husband, I started performing sadhana bhakti at a bedside for 10 days non-stop. Prabhupada lectures are going on. And I saw how she transformed at the very end of her life. In the last few minutes of her life, literally a past woman's life, just through an inundation of Krishna consciousness. When she was there, she could see subtle bodies. She was showing me subtle bodies. And they were coming. She was showing me Yamaduras. She was describing them to me. She was showing me that she was attached by chains. But then immediately, in the next day, 2-3 days, Krishna gave her, although the doctors gave her 10 hours to live. When I flew down there, she actually stayed on for another 10 days by Krishna's arrangement. And although the body was totally given up, her consciousness was still there. She was still listening to, I was speaking about Prahlad Maharaj's pastimes. I was chanting the whole day next to her. I was reciting verses. I brought Mahaprasadam. I put Ganga water in her mouth. I brought, dust from the holy dam, and I've given her. And I saw within 3 or 4 days, her husband told me, such a transformation. Her face was pasty. Her body was looking as though she was a dead body. And within 3 or 4 days, her husband says she's glowing. And I saw that physically, saw it in my own eyes, my own life. This is first-hand recount of the situation. And she transformed immediately. She was glowing, right? And at the last moment of her death, I was the last one to speak to her. And I told her how she needs to leave her body, where she needs to put her consciousness, how she, what will happen. And she listened at the very last moment of her life. And then within a couple of hours from that, I was sleeping next to her. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. She was on the bed. I was sleeping on the floor in the oncology ward, in the hospital, a horrible place to stay. And I stayed for 10 days. And then she left and Mangal Arati time at 4 in the morning. She just departed. And as she departed, I woke up. My sister, my cousin was there. They told me, So I touched her and she was still hot. Her body was still hot. And I immediately started singing Nishringare prayer. I saw inundation of Krishna consciousness, how it can transform one. Immediately, I'm speaking from realized knowledge. Not that I'm a realized soul, but I've seen that happen. Trust me, it works. This process, it works. The next example is Prahlad Maharaj. It was under torture in Bhagavatam in Canto 7. Prahlad Maharaj was thrown from cliffs, poisoned, trampled by elephants, right? Subjected to many tortures, right? Tormented by Hiranyakasipu. But he remained peaceful, absorbed in remembrance of the Lord Nrsimhadev. The lesson from that is one fixed in devotion does not identify with bodily suffering in an ordinary way. Sukadev Goswami was Sukadev Goswami among village women, right? We spoke about that earlier. So the common trend in all these examples, the higher spiritual realization, the less one acts from bodily identification, social conditioning, and material dualities, right? This is one of Bhagavatam's recurring tests of Paramahamsa consciousness, right? Bhagavatam is preparing us all to have Paramahamsa consciousness. So when that final test of death comes, and the final test comes, we all will pass with flying colors, right? That Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because we followed great opportunities like Purushottam Mas, will come and grab our hand by hand and he'll lead us back to Golok Vrindavan. Where should we worry? You know, like once somebody asked me, who is on the very last stage of their life, he asked me, you know, and now I'm trying to remember Krishna, but when that time comes, how am I going to remember Krishna? Then I remembered and I reminded him what my Guru Maharaj told once. He said, see, while you have an opportunity, you remember Krishna. And you pray to Krishna that at that crucial time, I may not be able to remember you. Please, you remember me. And if Krishna remembers you at that crucial time, what is the need to worry about anything? The other good example was Arjuna, who went to Indra Loka, right? And Urvashi was the one of the persons in Indra Loka, and she was the property. So she was the property of his father Indra, and she approached Arjuna. Sorry, she approached Arjuna. Because Arjuna, imagine when Prabhupada. There was a couple of examples I don't have here. I'm going very fast, but give me 2 more minutes. When the damsels from the heavenly planet comes down, Prabhupada said, if we see their beauty, we'll pass semen in our pants. And it happened not only that, not only us, but great personalities, they also did the same. And other personalities were born from that semen. When they saw, even Lord Brahma, when he saw a couple of girls, when there was a yagya with Lord Shiva, when he saw this couple of girls, he was so sexually agitated that he discharged semen. And from that, the nine yogis came. It was put under the fire, and the Navaga Yoga, I think it is called. They came. So even that was there. Great personalities. Even if you're looking at it, Lord Shiva, when he saw Mohini Murti, right? He got agitated like anything but the beauty of Mohini, the incarnation of the Lord. He got so agitated, Lord Shiva, that he ran behind her. He ran behind her, and it is explained that, the way he grabbed her and he pulled her by the hair and stuff like that. In this day and age, in this context, it will consider no less than rape. Even in the Bhagavatam, it addresses so many different places where different devotees, different Matajis were raped. And it also mentioned last time that how Prabhupada mentions in the 3rd canto, how women like to be raped. So these are matters that are confrontational matters. So, I mean, I'm mentioning it because it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam. So please don't get me wrong. I generally don't talk like this. Prabhupada also went once and he was giving class, and he was invited to give class to an audience. When he went to this class, it was a little weird place. And when he sat down there, all the audience was sitting naked, literally naked. Now, imagine now if we give him Bhagavatam, please don't imagine, Prabhu, Aribol, Mataji, Prabhu, don't imagine. But imagine if you give him Bhagavatam class to a set of audience that all are sitting there and they all, like these were hippies. They were sitting naked, and Prabhupada was not affected. He spoke Bhagavatam, and from there, I think even one person became so attached that he later joined the ISKCON, became a sannyasi. So Prabhupada even spoke. He went there. Imagine if you take your Guru Maharaj to a place and say, listen, Guru Maharaj arranged a program, and Guru Maharaj rocks up there, and then, you sit down there, and the whole audience is sitting stark naked, women and men. So Prabhupada was not affected by that. Prabhupada still gave the class. Prabhupada didn't run for his life from there, but don't not imitate Prabhupada. Prabhupada is a Paramahamsa. We should not be putting in that situation or put our gurus in that situation. The moment we see that, we're affected, we'll fall down immediately, right? So I'm just giving this example in other examples that were there, Arjuna, what happened is Urvashi approached Arjuna, And Arjuna said, see, because you came in my lineage before, you was king. Yeah, I think she was connected to Urvashi was connected previously to King Pururava, to King Pururava, one of the ancestors of the Kuru dynasty, and also because Urvashi was the property of his father Indra, so he addressed her as mother, right? So she was the property of his father. So he addressed her like, you are like my mother, you know. So you are worthy of worship like my mother. I could not approach you in that way. Right? Imagine that same personality with great personalities when they looks at her. Now Vashi became deeply offended. Right? She was one of the most attractive women in Indraloka. Nobody will you know, when they approached by her will reject her. Now the thing is that heavenly plans are a little bit different. When in heavenly plans, when women see a man that they like, they'll approach them, and then of course, you know, they will have sensual activities. It's not like we had the restrictions, you know. The other one, if you're looking at it, Mother Ganga was an assembly of many devotees, many demigods, and then the wind blew and a dress fell down, exposing a breast. And at that time, all the demigods put their head down. Bar one demigod, he could not help himself. He kept appreciating the beauty of Mother Ganga. So then what happened? He says, no, if you saw her like that, then you know this is not good. So both of them had to take birth in this Earth planet, right? And he took birth. The demigod took birth as King Santanu, and he had to accept Mother Ganga as his wife. Now that's another good example. Because of the attraction of Mother Ganga, he had to shut his mouth for several children who were drowned. Because she said, if you ever question any of my activities, I'll leave you and go. So he didn't want to leave her and go. So he allowed even his own children to be drowned. Although it's for an higher purpose, but that's a different story. But what happened is he didn't say anything because of attraction. He was so attracted to Mother Ganga. And then finally, at the seventh time, when he stopped it, and that was Devarata, grandfather Bhishma. So that's another good story, but time permitting, we cannot go into that. So there's so many stories, even the one of Kichaka, right? Kichaka was the commander-in-chief of the Matsya army of Viratas at that time when they were incognito, and they were attracted to Draupadi. He was so attracted to Draupadi that he tried to, you know, force herself on him, and then that Bhima had to come intervene, and he pulped him literally into a pulp, and that's how they were exposed. That's another beautiful story, but for another time. So many different things. So if you then Agnidara, what happens is because of his great attachment for his wife, thousands of years they spent together was not enough. That when she left, so there was a separation. I don't know why the separation, but there's a separation. She went way back to the heavenly kingdom, and then he was so attached to his wife that at the time of death, he even was thinking of his wife. Coming forward in the next couple of verses, you'll see that he was so attached to his wife that at this time of his death, he was thinking of his wife. And what happened? He had to take birth in the planet of his wife, in Pitaloka. So it's so important that Krishna consciousness or Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, through all these examples, they cut away these impurities of our heart. Why? How? By exposing it to us, by graphically exposing it to us. So therefore, when we come to these kinds of sensual things, we should not be there. You know, if we are immature, go back and start again with Bhagavad Gita and read again the graduate study before we come to the postgraduate study. When we listen to lectures that is not palatable to us, then we must understand there's an iron reason for that. And if it's covered within the context of Bhagavatam, then we should take that as a great opportunity for us to listen so that we can purify our own consciousness and our own immaturities and become mature enough so we can now we're approaching the 10th canto. You know, next couple of, you know, we're halfway there already to the 10th canto. By now, we should be mature, spiritually mature devotees to handle these kind of sensitive subject matters. Discuss it between the great Vaishnavas. You know, all great Vaishnavas. So, you know, initially, I felt I don't know how to do it. But I was thinking we're all great Vaishnavas and we all are right here. We're all mature devotees. Mature subject matters are spoken in front of mature devotees. We won't go speak this in the open public on a Saturday night feast. No, but these are all mature devotees. We come to a certain level where we are qualified and capable to understand these subject matters. And if we are not, if we are affected, we are weak-minded or sensitive-hearted, then we are not ready to go further. We should go back again into Bhagavad Gita and start reading again. And I'm talking about, when I say we, I mean me. And I realize that if I'm not mature enough to handle the subject matter or discuss the subject matter, and if I'm putting my own ego aside because I cannot handle the subject matter, then I'm not qualified for me to even start going Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavatam. You know, what to talk about going further. So, my Prabhu's Mataji, if I've said anything wrong or if I misrepresent anything, please accept my most humble obeisances because of my immaturity, my lack of understanding, or my lack of qualification to get into this postgraduate study of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And I welcome any questions. If I'm able to answer, I'll try my best. Otherwise, you know, I would welcome also some comments from Vaishnavas who have a greater understanding on this subject matter, because it is a delicate subject and we need to address it. So anyone has any questions, comments, rectifications?
Hare Krishna, Janaka Prabhu.
Dandava Pranam, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Pranam to
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you very much for very well prepared class on this very delicate subject. So yeah, I really admire your scholarship in preparing such a nice class and giving us so much of references from the Shastra. And I know it's very difficult discussing these topics, I said before also yesterday, but thank you very much for preparing so nicely. And yeah, it's very difficult for me to absorb so much content you have in this class.
Yes.
But, you know, we are trying our best to know more and more. So we have to read, hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam again and again. And maybe one day we can have a little drop of mercy from Bhagavatas about this Bhagavatam. Thank you very much again, Prabhuji.
Oh,
Hare
thank you
Krishna.
very much, Mataji, for always contributing so nicely and for advising. Actually, the reason I changed my class this morning is because I was inspired by you. I was thinking this morning, you told me the same thing last time, that, you know, you didn't understand a lot of the content, there's too much content. So I said, let me change it more to go more pastime related, but at the same time, try to cover it. So thank you very much as well for guiding us as well.
Yeah, it's not understanding, Prabhu, because when you read, it's how much you can absorb.
Yes.
So the thing is that if at end of the class, if somebody has written or prepared a lecture, you know, and I would say that maybe you can, but even a person who has prepared a lecture and you tell him to close that book or their lecture, how much he can remember?
Oh, no, not much.
Yeah. Yes. So that's what I'm saying, because we have got a certain capacity, at least for me, you know, that what I used to remember maybe 20 years ago or 25 years ago, I'm not able to remember, but I have to read again and again. You know, I have read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and every time I read it, I will find something new. Every time I listen to Bhagavatam classes, you know, every time I find something, you know, coming out of that. So Bhagavatam is really a treasure house for us. So much inside there. And listening from different Bhagavatas and from different, you know, Vaishnavas, it gives you so much, you know, inside those lectures and Bhagavatam classes that we cannot just, you know, Prabhupada has given us so much in his purports and all that. But there is so much behind all those Vaishnavas, their commentaries. You know, Vishwanath Chakravarti, you know, you read their commentaries, so much comes from there. So we are very fortunate that we have got all these things available. But the thing is, how much time we have to read all this. Anyway, I can just remember to chant my rounds attentively. And that's very important. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
You know,
Thank you very
you're absolutely right. I think it's said that after 20 minutes, we tend to not to absorb everything. But my Guru Maharaj also said that when you give pastimes, philosophy within pastimes, then we tend to understand or remember it more. And therefore, like what I also like to do is I like to ask questions, not because to show I know more. It's because what happens when you ask a question, it makes you, it gets the brain thinking, and it forms like a kind of memory hook for us to remember. I remember in my early days, I remember listening to one of the first classes. And what they said is, yes, you listen to 1 hour and you only can grasp few things. But what you should do in every class, you should remember one thing that stands out to you. And what might stand out to you might not stand out to somebody else. So you stand out in every class. You find one subject matter or some point that stands out to you and remember that. And over a period of time, you'll have so many different points that will stand out to you, even if you can remember one thing from the class. And yes, even though I prepare these classes, it takes a lot of time. I myself also will forget 90% of it until next time I have to refresh. So yes, you're right, Mataji. We're born in such an inopportune time. Therefore, we have to have our sastra in the written format. Before Veda Vyas, you hear it once, you'll remember it forever. We're short-lived. These are the qualities of this time. We're short-lived. We have poor memories, poor consciousness. We're lusty. All of us. When lust does not only mean sexual lust. We might want a house, a car, a phone. These are all lusts. The worst one is the one we find applicable is the desire lust. But
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, Haribol.
Dandavat pranams, Prabhuji. Thank you for the class.
Thank you.
Yeah, I understand it's the brain, how much he registers. We are talking about that. And nicely you have put up the whole topic. I was just reminded of the temples in Khajuraho. Chhatrasal Maharaj, he built those temples, and if you happen to see, there are many exhaustive like statues and the carvings and engravings on the stones.
Yes.
And it is 11,000 years old temple, and it has, luckily it was hidden in the forest, so Aurangzeb could not reach until that place, and also nobody could destroy it. So later it was found out it's one. So the history behind it was Chhatrasal Maharaj, who was invaded by Mughal kings 19 times. He could not be defeated because of his powerful fort and the moat around the fort, which was Kalinjar Ka Kila. And he was a very ordained devotee of Lord Shiva. So, he asked his guru after he was not defeated and he was really strong. He asked his guru that I don't feel satisfied, like Srila Vedvyas Priya Maharaj asked Narad Muni. So, in the same way, he asked, I don't feel satisfied. What should I do next? I have done a lot for this kingdom. And he said, you should come up with the temples of Mahadev, and on that, you should make the engravings so that people, they go, they have darshan of the engravings and all those exhaustive postures very, very openly. Like, this is nothing what we read in Bhagavatam today. There are open postures which the lusty people in this world misunderstand that it is because of for the lust. But actually, Kandharia Mahadev temple was made because Chhatrasal Maharaj was instructed by his guru to make temples like that huge. There are set of 7 to 8 temples, Prabhuji, and they are very, very beautiful, extremely beautiful, and carvings and everything. But people misunderstand. Now what happened is, there are some guides who are mature and who are learned people. So nowadays when they take people around, they explain to them that this is not kam vasana. This is all to get over kam vasana. You see these postures, you help in progeny in this universe, and then you move ahead. So how many times a person will see that and get lured? Isn't it? There will be a time when he will get exhausted looking at those postures, or he will get I'm done with this now. And then he will actually focus on worshipping. So that was the intention behind it. But the tourists, when they go, according to their own levels, they take it. So I was just, and in Vedas, like my mother used to tell me, don't look at Digambar, Digambar Jain temples. You don't go there. Don't close your eyes. She used to tell that my great grandfather used to guide me. If you look at those temples, all like those whatever statues, deities, all your punyas will be finished. So that is because once if you have a look at it, your punyas will be finished. But when you look at it again and again, you will get over it. Like same principle in Jainism,
Yes.
Jains, they are asked to not wear clothes. So
Yes.
it is not just not wear clothes. Not every Jain can do that, but their saints do that because Rishabdev, next canto or this canto only later chapters we will read about Rishabdev Maharaj, from whom the Jain whole religion came out. So he used to live without clothes. He went to forest for austerities, and that great king, towards the end of his life, he went without clothes, and his body stools and his urine used to smell so fragrant. It was so fragrant that the whole forest will have that beautiful fragrance. So that was his level, and that is what the saints in Jainism, they want to acquire that level, and they want to get out of this false ego that okay, we don't care of this body and we are the souls, and so they live without clothes.
Yes.
And they ask their disciples, but they say only the disciples who have got elevated up to that level, they can, like we talked about Shukdev Goswami. Shukdev was very high level, so if he goes without clothes, nothing, like he is out, he doesn't have any false ego, he's so elevated. So
Yes.
in the same way, this
That's right.
Kandharia Mahadev temple and all the temples in Khajuraho, if you happen to see the pictures and online, you see
That's
them.
true.
Very nice.
That's a
Thank
very
you,
good point,
Prabhuji.
Malji. Absolutely, you're right. All our ancient temples where the Lord is worshipped inside, outside has got carvings of explicit carvings, if you want to call it like that. One of the so you're absolutely right. Anyone else before I give a right? So one of the closing points is, see, the thing is that the attraction between man and woman is there in all species of life, from demigods down to an insect. We are all affected very heavily by this attraction, right? And how a man is attracted, and according to this, this verse here in conclusion, a man is attracted by the features of a woman, by the smell of a woman, by the ankle bells of the woman, right? This is how a man's heart is affected by more external features, and it's also mentioned somewhere that because his genitals is outside the body, so he's attracted by external features. Whereas a woman whose genitals inside the body, how is she attracted? You'll see in the next couple of days. She's attracted by see, the man is attracted by the eyes, what he sees, but the woman's attraction in the heart comes from through the ears, by sweet words, by encouragement, by telling how beautiful she is, by vanity, things of that nature. So we'll see that coming in the future, where he entices entices her by speaking sweet words and lovely phrases and telling her how beautiful she is, how smart she is, and through that, if you notice it, you'll see how a woman, she becomes attracted to him, not by his look, not by his external feature, but by the way he glorified her with the sweet words. So a woman is attracted by the ears, while a man is attracted by the eyes. That's another in conclusion.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm really sorry for the delay in time, but I did appreciate and I really enjoyed the subject matter, especially all the contribution and the guidance that I've got from all of you all. For me, that's the sweetest part of Bhagavatam class, when the devotees get together and speak. I love that so much, the interaction. So
Come
please
to the
forgive me.
class every day, Prabhuji. Come to the class every day. We miss you.
I do come almost every day, except for the days that some days I spend 6:30 in the morning.
I always check whether you are or not.
Mataji,
That's nice.
what happens? There are days of the week that
Yeah, I
start work
understand that.
6:30 in
I'm
the
just
morning.
joking. I'm just joking, Prabhuji. Don't take it very hard.
Thank
Hare
you for
Krishna.
actually, you know what? I'm whether you're joking or not, if you do check, I'm very, very much thankful to you. Yeah, at least somebody cares.
Yeah, and it encourages, Prabhuji. Like
Yes.
Mataji's comments, Mataji's presence always encourages us to be there.
Yes, that is true. Oh, that's another thing I thought about yesterday when I was thinking about contemplating this verse. You know, in this day and age, you'll see Matajis are more attracted to spiritual life than men are. And you'll see that prevalent in our Bhagavatam class. Now, Bhagavatam class is every time after time, the Matajis that attend our Bhagavatam class outweighs the men by something 2, 3, 4 times the amount. You know, and it's not that these days you can say the Matajis are not working and the men are working. These days, men and women work just as much. Men and women work just as much. And so when I say Prabhus, you want to recite the verse, I refer to Prabhus as Matajis as well, because Prabhu means master. Why can't you Matajis be my master? Do I think I'm so proud that only men can be my master? So when I say Prabhus, I'm referring to both Prabhus and Matajis. We put them to two designations, but definitely from my understanding, when I say Prabhus, I mean also, you know, the male and female practitioners. So yes, and for yesterday I was thinking about it. You know, you'll see in this day and age how in previous ages they talk about how, you know, in not a very progressive way speak about Matajis, right? They're not very nice. Like for instance, brahmacharini is not it's not mentioned in Bhagavatam anywhere or in any verses anyway. It's a thing that Srila Prabhupada created. Brahmacharini. There was no brahmacharini ashram that I ever read in any way, but Prabhupada created that. And you can see it only because in the age of Kali, everything is upside down. And what happens, you'll see Matajis are more enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness than Prabhus are. And by far they are, right? So, I mean, like Matajis, we call them Matajis because they are like our mothers. They're no different from our mothers, and hope we can see that as well. But yes, but I really appreciate all the devotees, all you Matajis that come and make Bhagavatam happen every day. It is only through your Shakti, to your strength, that Bhagavatam happens in Brisbane. You know, otherwise, where's the motive if only one Prabhu comes and give class? So thank you all very much, all your lovely mothers, for making us better Krishna conscious devotees. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And thank you for tolerating me on this very hot subject matter on this cold winter's morning.
His Grace Janaka Raj Das Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
All you wonderful mothers ki jai. Hari Bol.
Hare
Krishna,
Bol.
Hare
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Gurudev. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. I think I have to end it. Goranga.